The activist is someone who wants to change the world, to change the thinking of people in the world in some particular area. To do that, as we shared in part one, you need to begin by focusing on the people who are very close to agreeing with you and the people who are just a minute away from believing what you believe. Number two, focus on feelings rather than facts. And three, tell stories that touch the heart. We talk more about all these things in part one of this series. But there are many reasons why we don't listen to one another. And if you're going to be an activist who is persuasive, it's important to know the techniques for helping people listen to you. People are ego-driven mostly and would prefer, of course, to spout their own opinions rather than listen to yours. Most people are really, really bad listeners. They're just waiting for you to shut the hell up so they can talk. But it might be that you sometimes are the problem. It might be that sometimes you are not giving them a reason to listen. It might be that sometimes you are not speaking in a way that is compelling, in a way that people are irresistibly drawn to. If any of this might be true, why? Because maybe you are committing one or more of the persuasive speaking crimes that cause people to stop listening to you. Following is a not exhaustive list. Crime one, are you a whiner? People in pain whine. What is whining? For a dog, it's a long, high-pitched complaining cry. For a human, it's a feeble, petulant, usually ongoing complaint. Don't whine. People hate it. Don't be feeble. Don't be petulant. You're petulant when you come across like a victim, and victimhood is anti-magnetic. People run away. No matter what the current reality is, always come from a vibe that you are the victor, not the victim. Being petulant or whining about how people are not doing the right thing really destroys any chance of you convincing anyone to do the right thing. Don't be feeble. It's better to be silent than to be feeble. Feeble is victimhood. If you can't argue with conviction, with compassion, with courage, then you're feeble. Shut up. Better to be silent than feeble. Don't go on and on with the same people. They'll just tune you out. Make your point, don't repeat it. The worst crime in conversation is to be boring. Crime two, do you interrupt? Ooh, that's really common. You might very well be right, and they may very well be idiots. But if you interrupt all the time with your rightness instead of listening to their next thought, they will certainly be offended. And then they will become busy thinking about what a terrible person you are and what they can say next. Even if you know what they are going to say, and let's face it, we often do, let them finish. A good technique that I use with friends who I know well, and we've made this agreement, is to say at the conclusion of my thought, I am complete. That means I have come to a stopping point on the idea I am sharing, at least for now. And I'm now ready to hear what the other person wants to share. And you can, if you wish, train your friends and coworkers to do this. They will know not to interrupt you when you are speaking until you say, I am complete. We have this practice with our women's circle at the museum, and most of us follow it. We don't usually interrupt a woman until she says, I am complete. It does seem a bit artificial, yes, but it really makes meetings go a lot better and everyone feels heard. And pretty soon you get used to it and you like knowing that you can take a breath and somebody won't jump in with their own thought. You can have a moment to gather your next coherent thought and no one will start talking over you because you haven't said, I am complete yet. So it's a really useful technique. You can, if you're a mom, you can institute this with your family. If you're having a conversation, say at the dinner table, and people are interrupting constantly, teach them that when they are finished with their thought, they say, I am complete, and everyone else waits until they hear that phrase. Of course, this doesn't work with somebody you just met or a stranger you might be debating with. So in those instances, just be patient and let them come to their own conclusion in their own time, no matter how stupid you think it is. Crime 3. Do you begin with, actually, you're wrong? It might be true. They might be wrong. They probably are. But it never gives you the result that you were hoping for. It never gives you the result that the person recognizes that they are wrong. They never say, oh, really? Am I? Do tell me more. No, they never say that. It just tunes them out. It's a kind of like men telling women to calm down. Never, ever in the history of woman-man relationships has a man telling a woman to calm down ever had the desired effect. Do you want to be right, or do you want results? Your ego wants to be right, always. But as an effective activist, you may want to focus more on results. Saying you're wrong never works. It just does not work. A better tactic could be, and there are probably many tactics, but here's one. A better tactic is perhaps to say, yes, that is a perspective I have had also, but that changed for me when I learned blah, blah, blah. And stick with a story about what happened to cause you to change, and more importantly, how you felt about it, not how you want them to change. No one can argue with your personal story, and you're not making someone wrong. You're sharing information and perspectives. Crime 4. Are you truly informed on your topic? If you're going to argue facts and figures, which, as we said in the part 1 video, doesn't really work as well as stories that touch the heart. But if you're going to do that, you better know exactly what you are talking about. Anyone can Google anything these days. I was with an elder woman friend and her 60-year-old daughter, and we were having lunch at some restaurant, and Edna made some statement about something. And here we are trying to have a pleasant lunch, and the daughter immediately jumps on her phone to Google it to prove her mother wrong. Don't go there. Don't let people go there. And if they do, be the one who's right. People can really feel when you are communicating beyond your expertise. And nowadays, they are not afraid to call you out on it. Everyone's an expert on everything with their phone. If they discover that you are wrong on your facts, that'll be another reason for them to tune you out. Speak as an expert when you truly are. And let's acknowledge that really, truly, most people are not expert in all that many things, but we often spout our opinions like an expert, and maybe we shouldn't always. That's something I've been thinking about a lot about in the last few years. And I notice that I'm saying more and more, well, I don't really know all that much about that, so I have no opinion on that. And it's okay to not have an opinion on every single little last thing. Be the expert who is speaking when you truly are, and maybe shut the hell up and learn from others when you are not. The exception is when you are not talking facts and figures, but speaking about how you feel from your heart. No one can argue with that. If you are not an expert on something, it is okay to stay in the conversation with phrases like, I don't have the facts and figures on this, but my heart, my intuition, my instinct, my feeling, my inner knowing, call it whatever you want. My heart tells me that this is wrong. My heart tells me that something is wrong with this. Something is not right here. No one can argue with your feeling about something. And the bonus is that it's often much more compelling to the other person to hear your feeling about it than it would be to hear a list of facts. So be informed, be an expert, and then if you're not, come from your heart. Crime 5. Do you wander all over the place in a conversation? Have a point and make it. Most people really blather on, wandering all over, following any choo-choo train of thought and tangent that spontaneously occurs to them, like they're in one of those word association games you play at your shrinks. This is not compelling speech. Most people speak this way because their own thoughts on the given subject are not that clear to them to begin with. What is the point you want to make? If you cannot identify it clearly to yourself in a sentence or two, then you are not ready to talk about that thing. Generally speaking, the longer you talk, the more personal power you lose. Why are all the great macho icons of Hollywood very terse and laconic? Because there is power in saying what you want with the fewest amount of words. There's power in silence. Once I was in a debate with a man who ran a bullfighting school in San Diego. Can you believe it? We went back and forth, him yakking on about his idea of the ancient beauty of the man-animal contest, all sorts of shit. I showed him a picture of a horse used in a Spanish bullfight where the bull had gored the horse and her poor guts were pouring out onto the ground in a horrible, bloody mess. And I held the picture up to the camera and I said, "Is this okay with you?" Then I shut up. There was this long silence. It was just heavy. And during that silence, because women are trained not to allow silence, it's too scary for us, but let's get over it. In that silence, I really wanted to jump in and say more. I really wanted to go on talking about how obviously cruel this was, blah, 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 how wrong, how totally indefensible. But something told me to endure the silence. And because I did, my words hung in the air very powerfully. And there was really nothing that he could say. And the cameraman started crying. And that day, I did not convince the man I was debating, but I convinced everyone else in the room. I won the debate that day because I made my point and then I stopped. I didn't weaken my statement by yammering on. Have a point and make it briefly. That is powerful speech. Crime 6. Do you often use the words, "I'm sorry"? Unless you are indeed apologizing, stop this bad habit, which so many women in particular have in this culture, because we live in a patriarchy where women feel they have to apologize for their very existence. I notice Canadians often do this as a sort of cultural thing also. We often say, "I'm sorry," as a way of starting a sentence we're going to make, as a way of diffusing any potential irritation on the part of another person. Women have come to say, "I'm sorry," as a way of apologizing practically for having the temerity to take up space in this world. "I'm sorry, were you finished? I'm sorry, are you in line? I'm sorry, can you tell me where the cookies are?" Think of yourself as a person whose presence and words add value to the moment. Do not apologize. There's no need to. Save sorry for when you truly are, for good reason. Crime 7. Do you not respond to their argument? If you're in a discussion with someone and they make a point, respond to it thoughtfully. If you do not, they may rightly assume that you are not even listening to them. If you are not listening to them, why the hell should they be listening to you? Sure, sometimes their point is utterly ridiculous or ignorant or offensive. You still have to respond thoughtfully if you want to be an effective communicator. Crime 8. How often do you show joy? Many activists are hell-bent on demanding that everyone see how very bad things are. And of course, we're not arguing that things are bad. But this is very tiresome to everyone around us. No matter how passionate we are, we will do better if we show some balance. Show others that you find joy in life, that you are positive about many things, that you have a happy and relaxed side, a side that is not obsessed with this cause. Don't be one-dimensional. People tune out one-dimensional people. There are many other conversational crimes, but that's a good start. For more, check out the other videos in this activist support series. The activist life can be miserably driven by pain and the anguish that you feel over the issues of your cause, or it can be joyful, fulfilling, and effective in making change. Let's be the brave, happy, strong-hearted souls helping humanity evolve into goodness. All success to you in your mission. Activists are the brave, strong-hearted, and visionary souls who have always been the ones to lead the world to change for good. For thousands of years, each generation of activists has helped to transform life on this planet. In this series, we support the activist, whatever their cause, in their personal efforts to help us evolve into a better world.